who dismembered his wife, Michelle Montgomery.
Come forward. Come to the house. Let me know something. I need to know something.
The 39-year-old's decapitated body was discovered in a bag inside the compactor room at the Boracan houses in Williamsburg, 9:30 Sunday morning.
Oh my God. Who could do something like that to another person?
The timestamp reads 1:39 a.m., February 1st, 2026. The movie opens with a lady entering the lobby of 330 Bushwick Avenue. Alone, no hesitation, no one following her. She walks across the frame as though she is a woman who knows where she is headed. 8 hours after, a maintenance man in the basement of the same building attempts to pull out of a locked compactor room a black garbage bag. It's too heavy. She tears it open. The remains of that woman are there inside. Her real name was Michelle Montgomery. She was 39 years old, a mother of 4. Her 10-month-old was her youngest. Her death is what the NYPD would later term as an accident. But of course, here is the point. They used to call it an accident, but they used to call it a homicide. Prior to the press conference, there was a crime scene. Even before the official decision she was taken, her husband appeared on TV pleading with people to assist him to get hold of whoever, in his words, chopped up my wife. So, let's open this file. Not to tell you what to think, just to show you what's in it. In case it is the first time you have been here, this channel talks about cases when the official account does not quite coincide with what the evidence leaves behind. In case you want to do that, the subscribe button is currently there. No pressure. You only need to know that we have a new file each week. Michelle Montgomery was a tenant at the Gowanus Houses, Brooklyn, who lived with her partner, Anthony Echevarria, and 4 children, a 19-year-old son, a 12-year-old and 11-year-old daughter, and a 10-month-old son. She employed overtime shifts in Amazon, long hours, exhausting work. She also worked at the side operating a small business, KSA Creations, which was custom gift baskets during holidays, birthdays, and baby showers. Just before she died, she had been assembling Valentine's Day baskets. She was a social media user who was active under the name Petty Shay, TikTok, Facebook. She spoke her mind. She did not whitewash anything. In one video, she ranted about how people are strange in terms of their friend group dynamics, making sides, causing trouble, etc. She concluded by saying, "Do that in 2026 and get left, and not spoken to ever again." Anthony said that his relationship was stable. They took care of their kids. They took care of each other. His words, nothing wrong, nothing. Michelle would go out with friends infrequently. She didn't have the free time. So on the night when she chose to have her night to herself on the 31st of January, no one even questioned about it. Saturday evening, at about 9:30 p.m., Michelle abandoned the apartment. She replied to Anthony that she was going out with friends. He didn't ask who. He trusted her. At 11:30 p.m., she was at Mama Taco, a restaurant in the Flushing Avenue of Williamsburg. She has recorded it on Facebook, dancing, smiling, loose. It was simply a woman out on a night out. Think about that for a second. Within less than 12 hours of her body being discovered in a garbage bag, she was uploading videos of her dancing. She made another appearance in TikTok shortly after, midnight. Another clip, another moment. Her last social media post was made at 11:19 p.m., or according to some reports, right after midnight. Then, silence. At some stage that evening, Michelle had been called on FaceTime by her sister. It lasted 1 second, music in the background, then it cut off. No callback, no message. It must have been a pocket dial at the time. A call that lasts 1 second would later become a splinter in the family, like a splinter that they could not remove. Now, here, first, the question which is wrong is asked. The question that has gone wrong is, what happened to Michelle Montgomery? The appropriate question is, how did Michelle Montgomery end up in a building where she was unrelated 4 miles to her home, almost at 2 in the morning? Due to the fact that the answer to the first question is on record, the solution to the second one is not. Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. The victim was a worker of New York City Housing Authority who went into the basement compactor room of Bodycam Plaza, 330 Bushwick Avenue, East Williamsburg. The compactor room was away. Maintenance staff was the only allowed access. The employee attempted to pull out a heavy black garbage bag, couldn't lift it. She opened it. What she discovered and was in was enough to have the police to the building within minutes. The remains of Michelle Montgomery, sealed in plastic, left in a room that none of the residents should have access to. The building was locked down. Detection cases thronged the scene. People were standing outside in the cold, and the investigators were floor by floor. One of the residents told a reporter, "I've seen a whole bunch of cops right here and upstairs. It is somewhat shocking and somewhat crazy since it's my building and I live here. But nowadays, anything may happen." Anything could happen. That's one way to put it. This is where this case follows 2 timelines, and they both are recorded. Timeline 1. The homicide. This was a homicide being investigated by the NYPD in the first few days after the discovery. The media had branded it as a murder. The partner of Michelle, called Anthony, pleaded on camera.
Michelle Montgomery.
The story appeared as the lead of Eyewitness News. Reporter Darla Miles was in Bushwick and termed it as a gruesome murder. The medical examiner was still not in a position to identify the cause of death. Surveillance video, telephone logs, social network usage were examined by detectives. They followed the footsteps of Michelle minute after minute. The family was devastated. Anthony talked about how he saw their 10-month-old son looking about the apartment in search of his mother. The elder children were flumdiddling and said naught. Her sister, Serenity, was unable to deal with it. So extreme, as though I do not even know how she got herself in that building. However, it has turned out that she was in a garbage bag. No arrests, no suspects named, no motive confirmed. Timeline 2. The accident. On the 13th of February, 12 days after, the NYPD conducted a press conference. The chief of detectives, Joseph Kenny, came to the microphone and stated that the death of Michelle Montgomery was an accident. The description was as follows. Michelle was alone after leaving Mama Taco and walked to 330 Bushwick Avenue. She was captured by the CCTV entering the building at 1:39 a.m. She went to the second floor. At one time, her purse dropped down a trash chute. She tried to retrieve it. She fell in head first. She fell 2 floors to the compactor room in the basement. The compactor has an automatic power-off. It bags whatever it crushes. The autopsy proved that she was alive when put on the machine. She had several puncture wounds, torso and head deep lacerations, as well as a higher number of bones broken, including her rib cage. Everything agrees with the crushing of industries. No defensive wounds. Her purse was found back with her remains, identification still there. There were reports on the building of a witness that he heard screams inside the trash chute. The ruling was an accident by the medical examiner. Case closed. Officially. Here, however, is what the official ruling is silent about. What could Michelle Montgomery be doing at 330 Bushwick Avenue? She didn't live there. She resided at the Gowanus Houses, which was a totally distinct NYCHA housing complex some 4 miles away. The NYPD, as well as her family, indicated that she had no known association with anybody in that building. No friends, no relatives, no exes, no co-workers, no reason to be there. The structure is approximately 5 blocks close to Mamataco, a 10-minute walk. That does not sound harmful on paper. However, strolling 5 blocks in Brooklyn at 1:30 a.m., entering a house that you have never entered, without any prior notice nor informing anybody that you are coming there, is no accident. It is not accidental. That is intention. That is a destination. How did she get inside? The NYCHA buildings are not hotels. You do not just drift in. The majority involves the use of a key fob or a person to open the door by buzzing. Michelle is captured on CCTV going in. No knocking, no visible confusion, no pacing outside. She walks straight in. Was she called in through an apartment? Was it someone come down and open the door? Did she pursue one of the inhabitants? Did she already have access? The NYPD has not been able to explain publicly how that entry occurred. And in a case where the official decision depends upon the notion that she went into a chute of a trash compactor area by herself, the issue of access is critical. Who she was with that night, then, is the question. Anthony replied that he did not know whom Michelle went out with. Her family told them that the individuals in her last video on Facebook were strangers. Michelle normally labeled the friends that she was with. That night, she did not tag anybody. Those faces have not been publicly associated with names. That silence is loud. What occurred between 12:39 a.m. and 1:39 a.m.? The last time she posted on the social media was around midnight. CCTV captures her as she enters Bushwick Avenue 3:30 at 1:39 a.m. That is about an hour to be billed. It can be a lot in New York City at night in 90 minutes. Where had she gone after seeing Mamataco? Did she get into a car? Did she walk with someone? Was there a previous stop of Bushwick Avenue? The pings of cell phones have not been described publicly. None of the time frames of her device movement has been published. Six Sigma has not yet disclosed any rideshare confirmation. No witness has come out into the open to declare the fact that he or she walked with her. The gap remains a gap.
And next, there is the shift itself. The case was framed as a homicide on February 3rd. On air, the word gruesome was used. Her husband came in front of the camera seeking assistance in tracking down whoever did this. The story took a new turn after 12 days when the main character died as a result of being crushed by a trash compactor. That does not qualify as a trifle. That is total inversion of the main assumption. Perhaps the circumstances of evidence were really leading in that direction. Perhaps it was supported by the mechanical analysis of the compactor chute and timing logs. Perhaps there were no defensive cuts and bruises, no signs of being tied down, no marks of a scuffle. That explanation, however, was made final, with numerous underlying details being publicly vetted out before many. In cases of such a drastic shift, it is not accepted easily by people. They search the connective tissue, the actions between the point A and the point B. All those steps were not entirely presented to the public, and by this time you are tracing this file, you know what that means. This does not imply that conclusions should be rejected. It is concerning how they were got there. Since questions that go unanswered are not necessarily an indicator of wrongdoing, but they do not intend to mean that the story is unfinished, and incomplete narratives remain among individuals. Anthony Echevarria stated that he could not comprehend why Michelle was in that building. He said it before the ruling. He said it after. The answer to the fundamental question was not provided in the explanation. He is currently single-handedly raising 4 children. One of these tried to enter a role that he never requested, a 19-year-old son. There were 2 daughters, 12 and 11, who were old enough to remember everything, and a baby boy who wakes in search of his mother. Mourning does not believe in official decisions. This was simply described by a 7-year neighbor of Michelle living in Gowanus, a mother who worked and went out when she had a spare free time, someone who danced, someone who laughed, one who had to hustle a side income making gift baskets, someone normal. Nothing was wild about that. 2 months before her death, on December 3rd, 2025, Michelle wrote to her Facebook, "In case I died tomorrow, my Facebook wall was going to be full of posts on broken friendships. My family would lament on all the things that they should have done and the relationships they should have repaired. It would be much of, I wish, I am sorry. On the day of my death, my social media will be filled with the posts of people who had not communicated with me in several years. Do not take my death to elicit some pity. If you love me now." It reads differently now. On January 27th, 4 days before her death, she wrote, "Time does not spare anyone, and therefore do not waste time with people you love before it is too late." She was not predetermined in tragedy. It was a general thing that she was saying, the type of thing that people get typing at late night when they're considering the fact that life is going too fast. The distinction is that when she passed away, such posts were made permanent. They became screenshotted, shared, quoted, analyzed. Her words were no words anymore. They were construed as prefiguration, although they may not have intended it. To her children, such posts are not viral content. These are the final bits of their mother which have been recorded publicly. That is some other type of weight. 330 Bushwick Avenue has history. A retaliation and domestic violence-related double murder happened on the same complex in 2008. That event made its own impression on the reputation of the building. The place was already mentioned in the police reports and evening news long before the name Michelle could be linked to the address. Memories are attached to public housing complexes. Incidents stack. Headlines come and go, but the stories stay in the hallways. Inhabitants recollect which stairwell was covered with tape, had days of candles, flaming candles, which floor neighbors ceased chattering with one another. But Michelle did not happen to be in a familiar dispute. There was no documented feud, no restraining orders, no public threats, no spiral scene there that night.
Before being found, she was not reported missing. She did not have a reputation of escaping someone. She was not talked of as being afraid. She was a working mother with her nights off, a woman who juggled between work and parenting, one of those who had gone out on a Saturday to dance, laugh, and relax. Then she strode into a building which was not hers. The fact continues to draw the attention back. The compactor room is not a place that visitors normally stroll in. It is not a lounge. It is not a rooftop with a view. It is a service area. Most of the NYCHA buildings have utilitarian access points to trash chutes, many of them hidden behind burdensome doors, occasionally clearly labeled, occasionally not. They are utilitarian rather than adventurous. To make the conclusion of the accidents valid, it has to be a series of certain events. She would have needed to get in, follow foreign corridors, find a service route or access point of a chute, and somehow found herself in a place where the compactor machine inflicted fatal injuries. That is not impossible, but it is specific. Buildings of NYCHA have mechanical systems that are rigged to a schedule or by hand. They are not haphazard mashing machines that are going round aimlessly. There is timing involved. There is process involved. Maintenance logs exist. Activation points exist. A compactor cycle is normally started by someone or operated at regular times. Did the machine get switched on at that particular moment? Was there staff on duty? Was a resident dumping garbage? The fact that those operational mechanics do matter is because it is the reason between "this was an accident" and "she was in the building." Those were not made publicly step by step. No specific picture of her trail that runs through the entrance gate to the compactor space has been produced. People did not take a walkthrough and not tell about sight lines, door access, the condition of lighting, or whether the area was obviously marked as a hazardous one with the help of signage. Was the hallway well lit? Was the door propped open? Was the door of the chute going bad? The fact that it does not tell those details, however, leaves the speculation, and there the uncomfortable part is. It is not the conclusion that investigators reached that I do not endorse, but the inability to trace the complete trail that got them there. People do not want just a label, because when a life is terminated in an industrial process within a residential building, the people desire more than that. They want sequence. They desire to know how a normal evening turned into something device-like and beyond. Michelle Montgomery did not enter 330 Bushwick Avenue to nothing. Perhaps that was pure and simple. It may have been mundane. It can have been as normal as seeing a person, going inside with a group, going out to take a quick shower, or picking up on a conversation that had been interrupted earlier. It might have been 1 or 2 seconds of choice-making, a door opening, a choice to follow, a moment of distraction. But it has never been strictly clarified. And until it is, the last days of her life are in a kind of in-between of documentation and doubt. It is that space within which cases such as this hang. Not that people desire mystery, yet people desire things to be clear, since it is clarity that makes a story come to an end. And otherwise, 330 Bushwick Avenue is not merely an address, it becomes a question mark. This file has the following entry: a woman that left home happy on a Saturday night. The last video of her dancing in a restaurant. 1 second FaceTime call that did not work. CCTV shots of her walking into a building she had no relation in on her own at 1:39 a.m. Shouts heard in a garbage chute. Evidence discovered in a compactor room that was accessible to maintenance workers only. A case had begun as a murder and concluded as an accident. There was a purse discovered beside her body. A husband who does not even understand why she was there. 4 kids that will not have a chance to ask her. The NYPD claim to understand the manner of Michelle Montgomery's death. Maybe they do. However, the final entry in a file is never the whole truth. It is simply the final thing somebody wrote. The question left unanswered is the one no one has answered. What had taken Michelle Montgomery to that hallway on the 2nd floor of a building she had never been into at about 2 in the morning on the last night of her life? And you have an idea about that? How you feel what must have happened in those 90 missing minutes? Whether that risk was within her own life or without? Whether you accept the official version or whether you think that something was overlooked? Put it down below. This file stays open. I'll see you in the next one.